Welcome everybody to 52 Living Ideas. We are going through the Bhagavad Gita and we are on chapter 10. Today we are going to start with verse 12. First, we are going to go from verse 12 to 18 and then 19 to 30. We're going to start with two readings in English, followed by a commentary by Yogeshwar, and then we will go to Q&A on that or any comments on that. So we're going to start with Ambika. Ambika, if you could, 12 to 18. Ambika, are you there? Okay, let's go with David. David, go ahead.
Okay, so chapter 10, verse 12. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality, the Supreme Ultimate Truth, the Supreme Abode, the most sacred. All the exalted sages, Narada Muni, Asita, Devala, and the great Vyasadeva proclaim you as the Supreme Eternal Personality, the Cell Manifest, the original Lord of all gods, unborn and all-pervading. Now you personally are declaring this to me. O Krishna, all this which you have told me I accept as fact. Verily, O Krishna, neither the demigods nor the demons understand your divine manifestations. O Krishna, the greatest of all personalities, O origin of all origins, O Lord of all beings, O Lord of all gods, O Lord of the universe, only you personally know yourself by yourself. Verily, you alone are able to describe in detail your self-same divine opulence, by which these opulences you abide pervading all the worlds. O Krishna, how shall I, perfecting the science of uniting the individual consciousness with the ultimate consciousness, know you, always meditating on you in every way, and in which various manifestations are you to be contemplated by me? O Krishna, please describe again, elaborately, the process of devotion to you by perfecting the science of uniting the individual consciousness with the ultimate consciousness. Also, of your majestic transcendental opulences, since there is no situation for me hearing this nectar.
Thank you, David. Next up is Ambika.
Which stanza? Which shloka?
12, so chapter 10, 12 through 18.
Thank you. Okay. Arjuna said, Supreme Brahman, Supreme Abode, pure, highest thou, eternal Purusha, divine, original Godhead, unborn, all-pervading Lord. Thus spake of thee all the seers, as well as the divine sage Narada, Asita, Devala, Vyasa, and also thou thyself tellest me so. Whatever thou sayest to me, O Keshava, I believe it all is true. Neither the gods nor the Titans, O blessed Lord, know thy manifestation. Thou verily knowest thyself by thyself, O Purushottama, O cause of all beings, O Lord of all existences, O God of gods, O Master of the universe. Mayest thou speak without omitting anything, thy divine Vibhutis, self-manifestation in thy sovereign power of becoming, Vibhutis by which thou pervasively indwellest these worlds. How shall I know thee, O Yogin, by thinking of thee everywhere at all moments, and in what preeminent becomings, O blessed Lord, should I think of thee? Do thou further tell me in detail, O Janardana, thy yoga and thy Vibhuti, sovereign power of becoming, while listening to this immortal nectar, I know indeed no satiation. The Blessed Lord said, yes, I will tell thee only principally of my divine Vibhutis, O Kurushreshta, but there is no end to the detail of my extension.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambika. Next up is Yogeshwar. Yogeshwar, go ahead.
Arjuna Uvacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shaswatam Divyam Adidevam Vibhum. So Arjuna here is saying that in the verse 12 here, that Param Brahma, that you are the ultimate. I know it. Param Dhama, you're the place where I can stay, which is ultimate. Because Dhamma means a place you can stay. Pavitram Paramam Bhavan, you are also the purest. Because Bhavan means you are, yeah. And there is sort of a difference between, you see, in Indian language, yeah, there is a difference between you when you're telling a friend you, and there is a difference between when you're telling an elderly you. So Bhavan is used when you're telling an elderly. Now, normally in Gita, everywhere, you'll see Tvam being used, which means that you're talking to a friend. But in this verse, particularly and only, like no any other place, is Bhavan used. Bhavan means is saying you, but for an elderly, rather than a person who is the same age or who is younger than you. So in a way, Arjuna has realized something, that even though he looks just like me, he is my friend, he has all these relationships with me, but he is something great. Purusham Shaswatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum. So I know that you, Ajam means you have not been born. I know that. Like just knowing that Krishna has not been born. Because normally you'll only view him by his body, because you'll say Krishna was born. Like he had a mother, he had a father, he had Vasudev Devaki and Yashoda Nanda. He had father and mother. How can he not be born? But when you say Ajam, like he was not born, in a way you can see the essence that now Arjuna is going into the deeper reality rather than just the physical. Physical would say that Krishna was born physically, but looking at inside, the Atman, the Brahman that Krishna represents, now Arjuna can see that and say that you have not been born. Purusham Shaswatam. Now, this means that he's going to be there forever. Shaswatam. So I know you as that who is going to be there forever. And then Divyam means he is divine. He is not of this world. He is not like we perceive any other thing in this world. There's something different about him. Adidevam, meaning before anything was created, he was there. He was at the start. And Vibhum means even though he was there in the beginning and he's going to be there forever, but he is everywhere in the middle. Like in his creation, he's everywhere. There is no place that he is not. He is. That means Vibhum. He is everywhere. He is omnipresent in English way. Yeah, so he is everywhere. There's no place you cannot see him. Ahustvam rishaya sarve devarshirnaradastatha asito devalo vyasa swayam chaiva brabhishime. So yes, I know this about you. But how do I know this about you? Here, he is making it so clear that I do not have an experiential reality about you. Like, I have not experienced all this about you. But where I'm saying this from is all the sages have said this. And now I'm going to list the main sages who have said this. Yeah? Devarshi Narada and Asita and Devala. So between these three, what I would like to point out is in Indian mythology, in the context of metaphors, what Devarshi Narada is, he is that sage who is mainly towards bhakti, is mainly towards that, like only creating an environment that allows devotion to happen. And he constantly is in devotion. He's constantly saying the name of the ultimate. And ultimate is always present to him, everywhere. And Asita and Devala, so they have a father-son relationship, Asita and Devala. And Asita is prominent in Mahabharata, prominently known for yoga. And Devala in Mahabharata is prominently known for Sankhya. So in this three, you can see that Arjuna has taken bhakti, yoga, and Sankhya. Like those who have reached the end of these three paths, they are saying that you are. And then Vyas, the fourth sage he is talking about. Now Vyas, first thing we should know about Vyas, Vyas is not a person. Rather, Vyas is a title given to those people. It's like saying the principal of a school. Principal is not a person, rather a title. It's a title given to those people who have reached to a certain level and who do a particular type of work. Vyas is that title given to those people who write on the Vedas, like, because Vyas, we know Vyas is dividing the Vedas into four, writing the Itihas, which is writing the history, which is Mahabharata, and writing the 18 Puranas, as we know them. So it's not particularly done by one person called Vyas, but it's done by different people at different times who have been given the title Vyas. And there's also another thing here, because these were the writers. And the writers he's not a poet or anything of any kind, but he is just a writer of what is. And what Vyas does is just write what is, because Vyas has talked about all these rishis, all these sages that have happened in India. So whether it's writing about yoga or writing about Sankhya or writing about bhakti, so he has written about all these different faculties. And Vyas is the, let's say, you can't say a person, but those people who are called Vyas, one of them wrote Mahabharata, in which Gita is. So how it is viewed is Vyas just writes how he has known the truth. Yeah? And what he's writing about is all these different sages, whether it's Narad, Asit, Devala, Kapila, all those. He's just writing about them. And he writes how he has known about them and how the Vedas are. Do you want to say something?
Yes. I just wanted to provide a little bit more context to people who may not have this context. This Gita is a part of Mahabharata, and there are a number of stories that are there in the background, so which are there in the Indian mind. So when an Indian is reading this, like moment you say Narad, this image of this sage who travels from heaven to earth everywhere, and he can go from place to place saying Narayan, Narayan. So it's a bhakti kind of a, it's a very deeply bhakti oriented figure. When you say Vyas, the immediate, the learning comes to your mind. And, it says, all the rishis say this of thee, and the divine seer Narada, Asita, Devala, Vyasa, and thou thyself sayest it to me. So what he's doing is that it is actually pulling all that context of deep learning, deep devotion, deep knowledge, and deep yoga. People who are really at the highest levels of that. And for Indians, it will pull all these images and saying, all of them and you yourself are saying this about you. Go ahead, Yogeshwar.
So all these sages have talked about you. Yes, I know about you from them as well. But now, Swayam Chaiva Bravishime, you yourself are telling me that you are, and I accept by your word. And to do this, it's a really hard thing, because somebody telling you that I am the ultimate, and you understanding that,
I just wanted to add one thing. See, this is a very big transition. Okay, this is a huge transition, because so far, if you look at the dialogue of Arjun and Krishna, it is as a friend. He's saying, okay, I'm learning from you, but it is as a friend. Now, this is actually a start of this progression, which goes directly into chapter 11 of saying, what is Brahma? This is, now this is Krishna as Brahma. And that's what, that is what is about to unfold. Go ahead.
Yeah. So when you are telling me that you are the ultimate, what happens in a normal context is we are like, if somebody tells us, I am greater than you, what we only see within them is their ego-centricness. They are so much ego-centered. But what Arjuna can see in Krishna is the ultimate. Like the ultimate is telling him that I am, so know me as I am. Sarvametadritam manye yanmam vadasi keshava nahite bhagavan vyaktim vidurdeva nadanavaha. So all this that you've told me, I accept it as truth. So sarvam etad ritam manye, I accept it as truth. You see, there's a difference here in writing. What is written is manye, means that I accept it as truth. Yeah, there's a difference between accepting it as truth and knowing it as truth. And that is going to be more prominent in chapter 11, whereby Arjuna is going to say that you've told me all these words, yes, but have not yet known you. Show yourself to me. So that difference whereby I do accept that you are, but that is just an acceptance. It is not knowing. There's a difference between acceptance and knowing the truth. So whatever you've told me, I do accept as truth. Nahite Bhagavan Vyaktim Vidur Deva Nadanava. And I also do accept this, that even the greatest celestial beings, the Devas or the Danavas, none of them know you. Yeah? So I do not say that I know you. I say I accept you as the truth. I've not yet known you. I've only accepted you through the words that you've told me. And this, between chapter 10 and chapter 11, that's the big difference, whereby I just know you by words, and then I know you because of experience to you, which is going to be in chapter 11. So no one knows you, no one can know you as you are. But what I do right now is just to accept what you've told. And that acceptance is a huge thing. We can feel that it is not as good as knowing. That's fine. But to get here, Krishna has taken 10 chapters to get here, just to get Arjuna to accept that there is something ultimate, that there is something above him. Using all the logic he can, using all the practices, the yoga that is being said, using all that, yeah, Krishna has been able to tell Arjuna that there is something above, there's something that is ultimate. And now Arjuna is accepting that, yes, I do accept that there is an ultimate. And then the second thing, I do accept that you are the ultimate. Swayameva-atmanatmanam vedhatvam purushottama bhuta bhavana bhutesha deva deva jagatpate. So why I say that no one can know you? Because I know, only you know yourself. Swayameva-atmanatmanam. Only you know yourself. No one else can know you as you are. Whereby Arjuna is also getting to know that fact, that until you dissolve into Brahma, you cannot know Brahma. Until you become one with Brahma, you can't know Brahma. So Krishna has become one with Brahma. He's become that drop. He was that drop and he has poured into the ocean. And now it's one with the ocean. You cannot divide the drop from the ocean now. So you only know yourself, that you are Purushottama. Yeah? Not just the individual self, but above the individual self. You are the ultimate. Bhuta Bhavana Bhutesha Deva Deva Jagatpate. Now in the half verse, what Arjuna does is he's giving Krishna all these different names. Yeah? Bhuta Bhavana. So you are the place where all living beings are staying. They stay in you. No living being can be without you. You are the life within everyone. And everyone is within you. Bhutesha. You are the ultimate and you control all that is happening within this world. And control in that way of being the pervading law, being that law that is everywhere. And then Deva Deva, Jagatpate. So you are Deva Deva. Even out of the highest beings I can know, you are the highest. Like now I can't say anything. You are the highest of the highest. And then Jagatpate. So Pati means you are that, you are the one who owns the world. In a way, you see, what owning the world means here is not just owning that it is separate from you, like we own money or we own something, yeah, or we own property, not like that. But owning here, in a way, God owns the world. He is not separate from the world. One thing to know, he is one with the world. But what owning means here is without him, like without that underlying all present, there is nothing, there's no manifest without the unmanifest. So in a way, the unmanifest owns the manifest. It is above the manifest, just that if your sight cannot reach the unmanifest, then you feel the manifest is everything. But now Arjuna is saying that the unmanifest is everything. You own everything in that way. Vaktumarhasya sheshena divyahyatma vibhutayah yabhirvibhutibhirlokan imanstvam vyapyatishtasi. So you are the only one who can tell me what your divine Aishwarya is, what your divine Vibhuti is, what your divine qualities are. Only you can tell me. And what type of qualities am I talking about? Is Yabhir Vibhuti Bhir Lokar Iman Stvam Vyapyatishtasi. Which qualities are those? The qualities by which you are everywhere in this world. I want to know those qualities. Those qualities by which I can know you in each and every place in this world. Those qualities by which I can know that the unmanifest is that from which all the manifest comes. I want to know all those qualities of you. And now here, Arjuna is making a slight distinction. Yes, I know you by what you have told me, but I want to know more about you because I've not known you as you are. I've not known you to the fullest. I've just known you by your words. But now, what can you tell me about yourself and how I can experience you? Yeah? Because he writes, Katham vidyamaham yogins tvam sada parichintayan keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintyosi bhagavan maya. One point is verse 16, how you are within this world. Another point is verse 17, is that how can I know you in this world? That's a totally different point because sometimes what happens is, yes, Brahma is everywhere in this world and the qualities of Brahma are everywhere in this world. The unmanifest is everywhere. But how to know the unmanifest? And how should I know the unmanifest? So this is a path that is completely tailored to Arjuna. Like Arjuna is telling Krishna, don't tell me what everyone does or how everyone knows you. Tell me how I can know you. Tailor a path for me so that I can get to you. And I know that yogins tvam sada parichintayan, yeah, that all those who are practicing yoga or who are on the path of yoga, they're always contemplating on you and they are knowing you continuously. But how can I know you? And how can I know those yogins who are continuously contemplating on you? So that distinction, it is subtle, but it is something to take note of because there can be so many qualities of Brahma that we can know by logic or we can know by practicing or we can know by somebody telling us. But they do not help us to get to Brahma. What helps us to get to Brahma is something that is tailored to us according to our swabhava, according to what we are. How can I know you? By what I am. Now, what Krishna here is telling, what Arjuna is telling Krishna is, hold my finger and take me to the ultimate. I do not want to know how others know you. That's fine. Like how others know you, it's fine. But take my finger and take me towards the ultimate. Like give me a tailored path towards the ultimate. And that is how I will know you. This is only for me now. And not only going to the ultimate, but even on the way. Keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintyosi bhagavan maya. Like even on the way, if I get deviated, how can I get back on contemplating upon you? My own tailored way of getting to you. Vistarenatmano yogam vibhutim cha janardana bhuya kathaya triptirhi shranvato nasti me mritam. So give me a detailed description of your yoga and your vibhuti. Now, you see, the thing is yogam vibhutim cha, meaning that yoga and vibhuti. So two different things. One, yoga means your own self, how your own individual self gets one with Brahma. And vibhuti, meaning all those qualities that are within this world, that they make the world one with Brahma. You can see the Brahma within them. So two different paths here. Yeah? One is going within, another is going out. But I want to know both of them. Tell me how I can go within myself and how I can see you within each and every creature in this world, or each and every living thing in this world. And even though that is not living, even though it's just a stone, how can I know you within that? Tell me. Huh? And don't just tell me within 2-3 words, because you've already told me that. Because before Arjuna asked this question, Krishna had already said that I have told you my vibhutis in short. But now Arjuna is saying, yes, I've known you in short, but I've not really known you. Tell me in length, in full detail, how you can tell me. Bhuya kathaya. You see, Arjuna knows that I've been told. Yeah? So he's telling Krishna that, tell me again. Bhuya kathaya. Tell me again. Triptirhi shrinvato nasti memritam. So your words are divine. And I am not getting to that place. Like, I am not, you see, when you're communicating with a person you love, you always want to continue listening to them. You do not get that satisfaction. You just always want to keep listening to them. It's like that deep satisfaction you have, but it's just by listening to them that you have that satisfaction. Yeah. So without them talking to you, you do not have this subtle satisfaction within. So what Arjuna is saying here to Krishna is, I am not getting the satisfaction. Like, just continue talking to me, telling me all this about you, because I have gotten this thirst within me that I just want to listen to you. Now, another point to take from here about satisfaction. One point is that when you're listening to something so good, you always want to keep listening to that. Another point here is how Arjuna is not getting the satisfaction, because what happens is, with the words, you never get satisfaction. With the experience is when you get the satisfaction. You may feel that, yes, I have known by words, but until you experience it, that subtle experience you get, that happens to you, you never get satisfied. You never feel that, yes, I have become one with Brahma. You can listen to becoming one with Brahma all day, but there is that subtle satisfaction you get when you are one with Brahma. There's that contentment you have that is always there. And then there's also one other thing to note, that Krishna has given Arjuna that thirst here, that he never gets satisfied until he reaches the ultimate. Krishna, by all these chapters, yeah, at the beginning, what Krishna's questions were about the war, whether I should do, whether I should not do, or what path I should take. Now what Arjuna is asking, how can I know the ultimate? It's a difference here. So there's that thirst that Krishna has produced within Arjuna, that I want to know you now. Leave alone the war. I know I'm in the middle of it, but first leave it aside. Leave alone the path that I should take. Like, yes, it may be, but tell me the ultimate. Tell me what you are. I cannot get content without knowing that now. Now, bringing that within Arjuna midst a war, it's really the hardest thing. Like, you can tell a person who is just lying down, oh, he has no work, and then you're telling him about all these topics of philosophy or about God or about ultimate. That's fine. He may have ears to listen. But Arjuna is in the middle of a war. And Krishna has done something totally out of the way, creating that thirst in the middle of the war is totally another thing. When we personally have work and somebody starts talking to us, we really feel, why is he talking? I want to do this work. There's all this remaining. Yeah, we do not really listen to him. But Krishna has created this thirst that Arjuna really wants to listen to Krishna now. He really wants to listen to him and hear what he has to say.
Wow. All right. This is just wonderful, because this is like, it is now basically Arjun is asking, what is the ultimate? Who are you? Tell me plainly now. And that's what we're going to go into. So, and this is beginning, this is now, it's going to, rest of the chapter 10 is about this, and then the rest of the chapter 11 is about it. So this is a very good place to pause. We'll take any questions or comments you have. Try to keep your comments brief. You can ask any questions that you want. And then what I want to do is I want to show you a diagram where I am trying to explain to people who do not know much about Gita, how Gita approaches things. So maybe that's going to be useful to some people. Okay. And then we will continue on. So it's going to be Joe, Evanik, and Ambika. Joe, go ahead.
So wonderful presentation, Yogeshwar. So I'm looking at this, it's almost like it's accepting God's grace in a way. That's the way I'm kind of viewing it. And that there's a path to wisdom in this process, like that essentially Arjuna is being given a path to wisdom, to understanding what it really means to see God everywhere and to understand what God actually is, the manifestation of God. Is that a accurate portrayal?
Can you repeat it one more time? I just want to make sure I got it.
Sure. It's the idea that this is a path to wisdom that Arjuna is seeing now, and that it's basically he's able to see God manifesting in everything. So
no, not
okay.
yet. What he's saying is that I see that you are ultimate. Show me some path to you. I want to know you. He hasn't found a path.
Okay.
He has seen that he knows. He says, I accept that you are the ultimate. I don't know you yet. Please tell me. Please show me, in words, show me in experience. So he's asking for it. So he has not reached a point where he sees it. He has reached a point where he wants to see it.
Okay.
Desperately. And that's what he's asking.
And it's like this is the equivalent of asking for God's grace, essentially. That would be like in the Bible, in the sense that
That's a very good point. So it is the thirst in you. So
right.
It's that living fountain in you for love of God.
Right.
Okay, there is a lot of work that still remains to be done. He knows it, but that kind of really genuinely wanting something.
Mm-hmm.
It is basically, if to put it in the Bible terms, he's asking.
Right.
This point is not accepting grace, it's asking. He's asking. Now that he's asking, he will receive. So that is that point of him saying to Krishna, I really want to know. Please tell me.
Okay. Thank you for that. Makes perfect sense. Yeah. No, thank you for that clarification. And yeah, no, that's wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Evanik.
Yogeshwar, thank you again for the presentation. Is knowing, so you were talking about acceptance versus knowledge as true. Is knowing similar to a revelation? In other words, is Arjuna asking for a revelation from Krishna?
So Arjuna here, not really, because he will ask for the revelation in chapter 11, like, show me who you are, direct. But in chapter 10, what he's saying is, in the world, how can I see you? Yeah? And when he will not be able to do that, like, yes, at the end of chapter 10, he will get somewhere. Like, he'll be able to see that, yes, Krishna is in the world, but not fully. You see, when you see Krishna in the world, you can see him everywhere, within you yourself as well. But there's still that point he has not yet reached, what he asks for in chapter 11, that reveal yourself to me now. But in chapter 10, what he's doing is, Keshu Keshu cha bhaveshu chintyosi bhagavan maya. It is like, in which ways can I think about you? In which ways can I contemplate onto you? Show me that.
So, Evanik, I would say this. See, the way in which Gita operates is that it has multiple paths. And in Gita, Krishna is showing him all the paths. There is a path of love. There is a path of work. There is a path of knowledge. The way in which ultimate shows itself to you, there are also multiple ways in which it shows itself to you. So in that sense, it is far more complex. It's like a multi-path one. It's not like a direct. So that is a core nature of the Indian philosophy, that it has this multiple paths. And in my presentation, I will try to make that point. And if you please make that, ask the question again, if that doesn't answer it. Okay.
No, that did. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Ambika.
I just want to know the difference. I mean, the different meanings of vibhutis, the vibhutis here, and then the vibhuti, which is the ash you get for different, as to use as tika or to eat. What is the connection? Thank you.
Yes. So what happens is the ash that they get from the yajna.
Yeah.
What it is contextualizing is that because you've done a yajna, yes, so you've gotten a path to get to the ultimate. Now, why you get that Vibhuti? Now, why it's called Vibhuti is because now this is the essence of the yajna. It carries all the qualities of the ultimate now. That is why it's called Vibhuti. And basically what Arjuna is asking for is, yes, you've told me all that. Now give me the essence of yourself within all the living things on earth, or from whatever I know. Give me the essence of what you are. Give me the essence of your qualities. So Vibhuti in that way is also the essence of the yajna. It's the essence of the yajna.
It always tastes great and smells so much beautiful.
Thank you, Ambika. Next up is Alison.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why, because it seems like in Gita, God is in everything. And in Native American religions, God is in everything. And I'm wondering why it is that in Christianity, it seems like God is not in everything, that it's more like a hierarchical thing, that God is above us in heaven, and that it's, you know, like there's this big divide between God's up there and we're down here, we're the lowly humans. Whereas in these other religions, God can be found in everything. And I'm wondering why there's that divide.
That's a very good question. I will try to answer it after my presentation on Gita. I'm going to focus on Gita. It's a very deep question. It's also, there is a difference in the way in which it is there in the Bible itself, and then the way in which Bible is interpreted as well. So we'll talk about all of that. So any more questions? All right, so I'm going to go ahead, Yogeshwar. I want to make this presentation because I think it helps people kind of formulate things. And this is my attempt. So let me go ahead and start my share screen. Okay, start broadcast. Okay, let's see here. Here, I'm going to start a new one. There. Okay. All right. So I'm going to try something very, very ambitious. Okay. And I have to tell you that so I will preface. So I'm going to be talking about the ultimate. Okay. And it's almost impossible. It is impossible to do it. Okay. I love the way in which Naneshwar explains this. In the beginning of Naneshwari, he says, look, I don't know how to speak. Okay, I can only babble. Okay, like a toddler, I can only babble. And please accept it as a babbling, because like parents, even if the child is trying to babble and tell them something, they listen very patiently. And the another way he puts it is that, look, whatever I say is like fireflies. The sun is within you because you have your Atma, you have your Brahma within you. Okay, so it's like firefly trying to put a light on the on the sun. Okay, so, and if Naneshwar is babbling, if I had to put a metaphor, I'm only an infant little brother who is just cooing in amazement at his babbling. Okay, so that's all I'm able to do. So this is nothing. Okay, so but I'm going to do that anyway because that's what we do as human beings. Okay, so let me just make sure here. Okay, so I'm going to do a series of diagrams, very, very simple diagrams. Okay. My purpose here is to see what is Gita about? What's a simple way of describing what Gita is? At one level, is just about this. This is the concept of center. Okay, all we're trying to see is what is the center. So everything kind of collapses into the center, which is the principle of everything, something that is contained in everything, the ultimate. That is what Gita is all about. Okay. You are here. Okay, let me put it in the center. Let me see. Okay, that's better. You are here. This is you. You're not at the center. You're away from the center. Okay. And you have parts. You have really 3 parts. There are 3 different, you have 3 different parts. You have your heart here. You have your mind here. And you have your body in the world here. The 3 aspects that you have. Okay. And at a given time, you're right here. All right. So Gita starts by accepting this. I say, look, you have these parts. You're trying to get to the center. So what do you do? Okay. So Gita says, you can use your heart and you can love the center. This movement is called bhakti. Now, I just want to make it clear. See, all these terms are actually quite different from the same concepts that are used in the West. So roughly you can translate it into devotion. So let me give you an example of what bhakti is. Because moment people think of heart, they think of just emotions. But bhakti is actually something distinct from that. Think of a mother and an infant. What is between them is bhakti, is devotion. The mother is devoted to the infant. It doesn't matter where the infant is, what they are doing, whether they are, crying or laughing, doesn't really matter. Similarly, the infant can get attracted by this or that, but its mother is like the center of their attention. They can go look here and there, but if they notice that the mother is missing, oh, they're completely distraught. So it is that focus, single-minded focus, with your entire heart being focused on something. That's what bhakti is. And that's what bhakti yoga is about. When Krishna is telling Arjun, love me, focus on me. That's what he's saying, that with all your heart. The word that they use is ananya, means nothing but that. Okay, that's the center of concentration for you. Okay, so that is one path. There is another path here, which is the path of the mind, which is called jnana yoga. Okay, roughly translated as knowledge. But again, it's not about knowledge of the world. It is the knowledge of the center. What is Brahma? This center here is Brahma. Okay? That's where you're trying to get. And you're saying, Gita is saying that is a way to get to the center. This is relentless trying to understand. Now, bhakti and knowledge are not opposed to each other. Both are paths to the center, and they build on one another. The more you know the Brahma, the more you love it. More you love it, more you come to know it. Okay, they go together. And there is a third way, which is using your actions. That is called karma yoga. Here I will say, so what you're doing here, if I have to say, is that this you're loving, this you're seeking, and this you're building. What you're building here is a community, a better world, through your actions. Again, remember in earlier chapters, Arjuna was asking about, what is this? You tell me that jnana is great, but you're asking me to do karma. How come? And Krishna is explaining to him that it is by doing karma that it's a surefire way of trying to actually know. So all these three things build on one another, and they're all different ways of getting to the center. Okay, so this is one point I wanted to make. The second point is going to be even harder to make. Okay, it's about the same thing. There is the center here. This is you. You know what? I should not draw it like this. I'll draw it like this. This is you. This is the center. Okay. And these are the three axes here. Okay. Now, the question is, what is this? What Arjuna is asking is, show me what the center is. Tell me what the center is. Okay. Now, as we have seen in Dao De Jing, it starts Dao Ke Dao, Fei Chang Dao. That means Dao that can be named is not the eternal Dao. So how? And here we saw, look, Arjuna was saying, only you can know yourself. Nobody can know you. So what do? Let me use a different color. There is a name. There is a name for the center. And it is this. Let me draw it again. Just a second. Okay, let me draw it again. I think I screwed up. Okay, let me go here. This is the center. This is you. This is the center. These are the axes. And actually make it red so it is more prominent. This is the name. Okay. And the name is Om. Okay. Om is the name for Brahma. So now in chapter 17, Naneshwar has a very interesting commentary. He says, look, how can there be a name for something that cannot be named? So he says, it's like this. When an infant is born, imagine, you have an infant. Infant doesn't have a name. It is what it is. Okay. But you give it a name and it responds to it. When you think of the name, it makes you think of the infant. It is not the infant, but it is a way for you to think of the infant. So Om is the name to make you think of the Brahma. So the way it is the way actually it is said. I want to give you the overall picture first, and then I want to go into the detail of it. So the way it is said, you say Om, and then you breathe in. When you breathe in, you're actually listening to what is called the Anahat Nath. Anahat means the unmanifested sound. So you are speaking of Brahma, and then you are trying to listen to Brahma. So it is a cycle. It is a breathing cycle. You're saying something, you're calling out to the infant, and then looking at the infant, taking in that. So you're breathing out, and then you're breathing in. And at each point, you're trying to get a little closer to the center. See, this name is a little closer than you who are here. Okay. So that's what Om is. So let me go into the details of Om. So let's just look at Om for a moment. Let me move it a little bit down. This is better. So Om consists of A, O, U, and M. Okay. And all of what I'm saying right now is contained in that. So Om is a syllable. These are its parts. If you actually want to say Om, you have to hold all of these things in your mind and run all these things in your mind in order to call out to the center. And then you listen to the center. So what are the three things that you're looking at? The A is basically the awakening of you becoming conscious. In the terms of the Tao, it is the child looking, being conscious. It is in Bible, it is the Holy Spirit of the love within your heart, asking for something. So it is something that is new, fresh. In the Indian context, it is the Brahma, which is one of the three gods, the god of creation. So this is really creation. This is what creation. This is beginning. This is becoming conscious. So you are, and it's just like a child. It is unencumbered with whatever else that is there, thoughts, 10,000 things. It is fresh consciousness. This is a phenomenon of consciousness itself that is being captured here in the O. So you start saying Om as O is the first sound. And this entire phenomena of consciousness you're trying to bring to your mind. Then, and that sound is produced over here, okay, O, up in the head. Then you move down to your chest with the sound U. U, you can see the chest reverberating. That stands for the universal principle. So you're now trying to focus on the universal principle that is guiding everything. In Tao Te Ching, it's the Tao. You're focusing on the Tao. You are looking for the sustaining principle. If I had to put one word, I would call it sustaining. You know, the principle that sustains everything. This is Vishnu. In the Bible terms, this is Jesus, or the Word. That's the principle behind things. So that is U. And then you move to M, which is about transforming the world. So this is transforming. This is about actually bringing it up. So it's like starting with your heart, focusing on the highest conceptions that you have in your mind, and then bringing it to bear on the world. So this is transforming. This is the 10,000 things. This is the dynamism. This is, in Trimurti, it's Shiva, the god of transformation. In Tao Te Ching, it's the 10,000 things and how they change from one to the other. In the Bible context, it is about creating the city of God or building a church. This is creating the community. This is what you do with the world. So in saying Om, you're looking at the creative potential, the sustaining potential, and the transforming potential. And then you're breathing in and you're trying to get to the center where all these three things collapse, and looking for oneness in that. And you keep doing that. Okay. So that was my point. That was my second point about the name of the ultimate. Next, I want to make one more point, and then I want to point to 5 different characteristics of Indian thought. So I'm going to go back to our diagram. So here you are. This is the center. Good. These are the 3 axes. Okay. Now, we saw that you are here. Now, you can go towards the center. You can love. Or you can do exactly opposite. You can drift. Or you can be full of fear of yourself and the center. Here you can seek. I'll come to that later. Here you're building, right? So this is build. This is love. And this is seek, right? So instead of building, you can exploit, or you can simply say goods are here. I don't need to build anything. I'll just use everything that other people have used, other people have produced. I won't add anything to it. I'll just take away. I'll just use the community which is there. That as opposed to building. Similarly, if you're doing that and if you're drifting, you actually, instead of trying to seek the truth, you're actually looking for justifications for what you're doing, and which are different kinds of delusions. So you can delude yourself. Okay, this is not correct. I'll say delude. Okay, so these are so there is that negative direction. So this is all you can call the negative direction here. So you can go in negative direction. So there is positive direction and a negative direction. So the positive is always going towards the center, and negative is going away from the center, right? Now, I want to make 5 points about this. Number one is that this diagram applies at any time scale. So you can look at yourself and you can say, look, when I look at my life, this is where I am. I do have love in my heart. I seek up to this point. I'm this good at seeking, this much seeking that I'm doing right now. It's part of your nature, part of your habits, and how much building I'm doing in terms of the world. I'm doing this much. So you can evaluate yourself at a life level. You can also evaluate yourself at a moment level. You can say, what are you doing now? To what extent are you loving right now? To what extent are you seeking right now? To what extent are you building right now? So this applies on any time scale, okay? Second is that the Indian thought is cyclical. So what happens is that if you're moving positively, you're spiraling inward. And everything good that you do sets you up for doing a little bit better in the next cycle. This applies for any time scale. Similarly, if you do things badly, then you keep going outward, away from the center. So this cyclical, and at any point of time, this circle that the black circle, you can be here and you still have a choice. You can be on this circle over here at the back. You still have the ability, as Krishna says, of saying, you can still choose to love. You can say, okay, I have been wrong. You can start moving inward along any of these axes at any point. So you have the capacity of doing that. So it doesn't, the fact that you've been doing bad things will affect you, and it'll be harder for you than somebody who has been doing all good things. But you have the ability to do that. Okay. The third point I want to make here is you can see the integration in the Indian thought between emotions, thinking, action, between the individual and the social. I'm going to give one example of that to culminate all of this, so that it's integrated. So that's really a core part of how it is approached, that there are all these multiple means. Throughout Gita, you will hear Krishna saying, oh, if you can't do this, you can do this. If you can't do this, you can do this. And all of these are going to lead you in the right direction. Just keep going towards me. Keep going towards the center. Choose whatever path makes sense for you. Okay. So in a sense, it is very liberating. There is responsibility, but there is a lot of freedom in how you proceed. Again, the last point one point I want to make, and then I want to invite people to do an exercise. Actually, let me, anybody who wants to do it can do it. But so the last point I want to make is that I want to go back to the Om part here, right? When you see Om over here, right? So this is Om, right? And what you're doing is that after you're done saying Om, you're taking the breath in. So in one breath, look at the power of this thought, okay? That This entire thing that we talked about, creating, sustaining, transforming, you're trying to cover in one breath. And this is your grasp of it. And then you're taking the breath in to point to the center here, to look for the center here, to listen to the center here. See how far are you from that, and trying to move towards it. So going between the figure and looking at the ground of saying, where is it? Remaining humble. It doesn't matter where you are. You still have a lot to go. So that's why the seeker, like you look at people like Gnaneshwar. So they will always say to you that, look, I'm somewhere, I'm here. And there is always more to go. So it's a continuous process of seeking and loving and building. It's a never-ending process. I don't want to do it as an exercise. I want to make it very simple. But if you want to see this in action, so if you want to see, let me make it larger here. Okay, this is good. So you can look at Om over here like this. Okay, it is actually said about this, but it is parallel to who you are. It is parallel to your faculties. It is parallel to the love in your heart, your ability to think and understand, and your ability to act. Okay, so this is your ability to love. This is your ability to understand. And this is your ability to work and build. So that's what, there is a parallel between Om, Brahma, and you. Okay. And when you're doing Namaste, right, you're doing like this. What you're doing is that you're saying, the God in me greets the God in you. So what it is saying is that you're starting, God is here. Okay, so God in me is greeting the God in you. Okay, so in saying Namaste, you're basically taking the inner, the heart of a true Namaste comes from your heart. And you're saying God in, so it's like it's bringing in the ultimate. It's trying to say the God in me is God in you. So it is seeing it in the world. So you are in just by saying Namaste. Okay, just by saying Namaste in this simple gesture, you're covering this whole thing. Just like in a simple sound, Om, you're trying to cover, you're covering the whole thing. See the power of the integration of the mind, the body, and the heart. That's what I like about Gita. So I'm happy to take any comments. Firstly, comments. What do you think? I don't know which diagram to show you guys, but anyway, go ahead and type an exclamation mark if you'd like to see what you thought of this presentation. We'll start with Evanik.
So I really like this presentation. So I think I like the way you broke down the different the three ways of getting to the center. And I think what I really liked about it is that like everything had its own circle. Like Om had his own circle, just going through my notes. The universal principle had its own actually that had its triangle. And it just everyone had its own circle, so it was very easy to understand to understand how cyclical it is, and the Indian thoughts of being cyclical, and it help to think in that way. Like if you go to love, seek, build, like it's all together and it's all cyclical. And at some point, we're all going to be in those stages. And even with the negative one, I like that you said that even in that negative spiral, you can choose to go back to the center. Like you have a choice in each and every time. Like, and then the part where you talked about how you monitor it and how you're like recognizing where you are in that moment in time. And I think that's a very good point. Like if you know that you're in a mood, for instance, like you're just in a bad mood, and you can look at these diagrams, I think these multiple diagrams, and say, okay, where am I at? And how did I get here? And where do I want to go? And then how do I get there? And I think that's the part that Yogeshwar was talking about, is like, how do I get to the center? How do I get to the knowledge of Brahma? How do I get ultimately to that point of, just going to your center, going to the Brahma, knowing God, no matter which religion you practice or which spiritual practice you do, it's all about coming to the center, and it's all about getting to the God in you, and then having that go out into the world, and then being able to build and to seek and to love. Because once you're in the center and you get back to the center, you can do all those things and bring it to the outside world. So great presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Evanik. Next up is Pam, followed by Joe. Pam, what did you think?
Well, I really like this. It made a lot of connections with everything else that I practice. I tend to flirt with a bunch of religions just to see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually wanted to know, is the peace sign symbolic in this? Is because I was very curious to like, wow, this winds up being a peace sign where everything is connected.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that. I don't know about that, but that's a good observation. A peace sign has another dash coming from the center down like this. So I don't know.
Okay,
but
yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Pam. Really appreciate that you liked it. Next up is Joe. Joe, what did you think?
You've been doing these for a while, but this is pretty extraordinary. And the reason why is how integrated all three of those diagrams really are. I mean, just how you integrated Jnana Yoga, Bhakti, and Karma with the awakening transformation in God, and how that is like Jnana Yoga is essentially how that factors in with being able to see beyond the forms, and how Karma Yoga is like basically through your practice in the world, and that's transforming. And then you also have awakening and creation, which is fostering love and faith, which is your Bhakti, and how closely those align with those triangles, like those reinforcements. And then this idea how the spiral in looking inwards to look up is really something that I thought quite a bit. Like you're looking in and you look out to look down, and you're looking down because you're moving away from your core. And so, I mean, these are three really, really deep concepts, and it would have taken a long time for me to put this together. So thank you. I mean, it's actually quite remarkable on a number of levels, and I'm not just saying that. Because if you really walk through each one of these steps, you can even map this into to ideas in geometry. You really can. So, really, really well done.
Thank you, Joe. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Next up is Ambika, followed by Connie. Ambika, what did you think?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. I want the exercise now. Weren't you going to do an exercise with us?
No, I decided I was planning to do an exercise, but we'll do that. We'll do that at the end, maybe.
Okay.
I mean, it was a very simple exercise, but we'll see if we have time for it at the end. Thank you, Ambika. Next up is Connie. Connie, what did you think?
Yeah, I've been coming now for a little while and just basically staying quiet because I'm just soaking in and listening to you, over the last couple months now. And I will tell you that tonight, it just brought it to another level for me. This was extraordinary. And I particularly liked the Om. Because I don't know how much we've talked about it. And isn't that what the monks, when they like pray, they say Om, and it's sort of like a vibration? Is that the same that you're talking about?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because I will turn on as I told you, I've been a meditator of many years, that mute Tibetan, I think it's Tibetan monks, and listen to the Om, and it's so deep. It's so it's a vibration within your body. So that just was, thank you so much. Just thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Connie. Let me go ahead and stop sharing. Give me a second. Stop. All right. So let's proceed. Let's go. Let's continue. So what we want to do is the rest of the chapter 10 is quite challenging because it has a lot of cultural references. So let's get started. We'll go verse by verse. And Yogeshwar, if I think I can add something to make the cultural context clearer to people, I'll go ahead and add. So let's, how many should we read at a time? Let me see here.
5.
Give me just a second. So we'll start with 19. How about just reading maybe 3 at a time? Is that okay, Yogeshwar?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So Ambika, if you could read just 19, 20, and 21, and then if David could read the same ones. Ambika, go ahead.
The blessed Lord said, yes, I will tell thee only principally of my divine Vibhutis, O Kurushreshta, for there is no end to the detail of my extension. I am the self, O Gudakesha, abiding in the heart of all beings. I am the beginning and the middle, and also the end of all beings. I am Vishnu among the Adityas, radiant sun among lights and splendors, Marichi among the Maruts, moon among the night stars.
Okay. David, if you could just read first, let's just do 19 and 20.
Certainly. Lord Krishna said, O Arjuna, I shall explain to you only the divine, personal, majestic opulences which are prominent, since there is no end to my extensive glories. O Arjuna, I am the ultimate consciousness situated within the heart of all living entities, and I am the beginning, the middle, and the end as well of all living things.
Wonderful. So Yogeshwar, if we could do 19 and 20.
Antate kathayishyami divya hyatma vibhutayah pradhanyata purushreshta nastyanto vistarasya me. So Krishna here is saying Hanta. Now, Hanta is like, oh wow, like Krishna is expressing this like, wow, you really want to know me now. Yeah. So Krishna is expressing this, and it's at the start of the verse that, wow, you want to know me. So I am going to tell you about my divine qualities. Yeah? And those qualities are mine. I'm not going to talk about something that I know about, but I'm going to talk about myself. I'm saying myself out to you. I'm going to pour myself onto you. Pradhanyata kurushreshta nastyanto vistarasya me. So in verse 18, Arjuna asked for the detailed, the lengthy explanation. Like, tell me everything you can. Now, what Krishna here is saying is, I'm just going to tell you the tip of the iceberg. Pradhanyatah kurushreshta. Like, I'm just going to tell you those that matter the most to you. Yeah? I'm only going to tell you the tip of the iceberg only. And 99% is just going to stay within the water. Yeah? And if I start telling you the 99%, there's not going to be any end. It's like there's no end to that. It's like revealing all reality to you. Yeah? And in words, that is not possible at all. So in words, what I can tell you is only the 1%. Now here, what we have to realize is in 17, Arjuna has asked for a path for himself. Like, how can I contemplate upon you? And Krishna here is going to talk about that. Like, he's going to tailor something for Arjuna, according to Arjuna's understanding, according to his swabhava, according to what Arjuna is. And another point is, it is with all the cultural understanding that Arjuna has. It is all with all those metaphors that Arjuna knows, all these stories that Arjuna has been hearing about, all these subtle practices that Arjuna has been doing since his childhood. They're going to be detailed here. They're going to be told about here. Where can you see Brahma within all that? And another point to note here is, we normally say that if you've really understood something, then you should be able to tell it to an infant, to a child. If you're able to tell it to a child, then you really understand it. But now there's also a subtle difference here, because you see, when you're able to tell it to a child, the way the child will understand it, it's not the same way an elder person will understand it. There's a difference. But still, the child will understand something about the topic. So that Krishna is trying to do here to Arjuna is tell the ultimate to a child. Yeah? He's going to leave out a lot, but he's going to make sure the child understands it. But now there's also something here whereby you can't tell everything about the ultimate to anyone, like telling, using words, because words will always, there are always so many perspectives to words. Like, one perspective is what you want to say is totally different. And expressing it in words now, that is the second perspective of it. When those words hit the listener's ears, and how the listener understands those words is the third perspective now here. So all those three perspectives, totally different to each other. How to understand what has been said by Krishna is really hard here, because Krishna is talking about something he has experienced. And we have not experienced the same thing. Now, Krishna is going to say it in words, in some words that we are supposed to understand, the ultimate, which we have not known. Now, what we are going to do is, because we don't know the ultimate, we are going to stick that understanding to something we know. That's what we always do. We try to stick that to something we know so that we can get a hold of it. There is nothing bad in sticking that, yeah, to something we understand, but know that it is still not the ultimate. It gives you a direction to get to the ultimate, but it's still not the ultimate. Another way I would put it here is, Krishna is pointing a finger towards the moon. He's saying, look, this is the moon. Now, the finger is really important, yeah? But do not look at the finger, look at the moon. Look at the ultimate within. At some points, Krishna is going to say, okay, now you're sticking so much to my finger. Now, what he's going to say, look at the tree in the horizon. And just above the branch of the tree, the moon is there. Yeah? Now, when Krishna says above the branch of the tree, it doesn't literally mean above the branch. Like above the branch, there will be leaves and maybe there is a bird seated on the branch, but not that yet. Like what he actually means is look at the moon. So he's going to direct you towards knowing Brahma. Do not stick to any of them because he's pointing towards something we do not know. What he's saying is really important. It's not to, why I'm saying this whole story, it's not to say that his pointing is wrong or he's saying that look above the tree is wrong because we do not have any direction. So getting a direction is really important. It's the most important thing we can do at this point. At least we get to know what Brahma is. Like we can just, if he points to the direction and we really look towards that direction, then we can get to know Brahma. What the problem comes is when we stick to what he has said, like this is the moon, and you stick to his finger, and the moon is above the branch of the tree, and you stick to above the branch of the tree. That there are two different perspectives that Krishna is trying to bring it to the words that we know, and it is a right thing to do because there's no any other way we could understand. But then there's also another perspective, totally different, whereby where he's pointing to, we cannot know without words. Like, because if Krishna was to say what the ultimate truly is, he just has to stay mauna. He just has to stay without saying anything. That is the ultimate. So if he is supposed to, yeah, sure.
In chapter 17, Naneshwar has commentary on the word Om, and where he's saying, Om is the name for Brahma. But he says most people, when they say Om, they just have the syllable Om. They just have the sound Om, and they don't really. It's something that is the finger. Om is the finger, and it is pointing to the Brahma. And if you just hold on to the finger, then you have nothing. So he says, there are so many people who actually have this. They will chant it multiple times, but they don't have Brahma. And that's why you have to listen to that. And only when you have that loop complete, where the finger, you say, okay, that finger is pointing to that, you get to that, and then come back, then we have something. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So that is what Krishna is trying to do here. Tell it to a child in the language that a child understands. But this concept is way broader. It can't be said in words, in short. And when you put it in words, Krishna is saying it. Now, those words are true in a way, but when we listen to them and we attach so much importance to only the direction rather than the ultimate that is pointing to, then we may get it wrong. But the direction is correct. The direction that Krishna is pointing towards is not wrong at all. Ahamatma Gudakesha Sarvabhutashayasthitah Ahamadischa Madhyamcha Bhutanamanta Evacha. Aham Atma. Yeah. First look at me as Atman. Level on Brahma first. Yeah. I'm going to point you towards it. So first level on Brahma, because it's really hard to understand it. So first look at the Atma. First look at the self. Now here, it's not the ego that Krishna is talking about, but the individual self. Like when you figure out that I am not the body, I am not the mind, yeah, I am not my emotions as well, but I am something different. So when you realize that I am something different, yeah, that individual self that you get to know, that is me, Sarva Bhutashrayasthita. And that individual self is within each and every living being. This is direction. Yeah. Aham adischa madhyam cha bhutanam anta eva cha. So now in that, now he's pointed to the direction. Now he talks about the ultimate. Yeah. Look at the moon. It is round and it has all these it's so cool. Yeah. So now he's saying that Aham adischa madhyam cha bhutanam anta eva cha. So within that, I am the start, I am the middle, and I am the end. Sometimes we try to stick to something. Now, when Krishna says, I am the start, I am the end, and I am in the middle everywhere, there's nothing to stick your intellect to. Like, you can't stick it anywhere. It's like everything, everywhere. So again, it's like so much confusing. It was really easy when Krishna says, I am the individual self, without the ego and without the mind, without the body. I am the individual self. But now it gets complex when Krishna says, I am the start, I am the middle, I am the end. It's like, where is he? He's so abstract now. Yeah. And that is what Krishna is pointing to now. Those qualities, subtle qualities that Krishna is going to point to. And this verse, let's say verse 20 is the start. And he talks about the ultimate here. He is everywhere. He is in everything. And he is at the start, he is at the end, and he is in the middle, everywhere. Now, this puts up the context of everything that is going to be said. When he says, I am everywhere, now it's so abstract. Now he's going to point out, I am here, I am here. But even in those pointing outs, those are directions that he's giving. See me in here if you can. See me in here if you can. And those directions, if I could give an example, like when we try to say that who is the best of all warriors, yeah, and we give a name. Now we see the essence in that person. We see how much hard work he has done to get towards the best he can be. Or when we say who is the best chess player, we see all that he has put in, all that intellect, all that mind he has put in within the game. Like nobody has been able to do that before. Yeah. And when we have that feeling within us, yes, when we hear even a name, so we have attached so much feeling and so much thought within that one name that it brings up a feeling within us, just the name. It brings up something within us. We get so much attached to it now, and we have that, you know, when you're in love, you have this feeling of chills all around you, and you have within your spine, there's that something that goes up, all that. Yeah. So now Krishna is going to try to point towards all this outside, and he's going to see, is Arjuna feeling something within himself? Is he feeling some love within himself? Is he feeling some concentration within himself? Is he getting to know something? Like using all the perspectives of bhakti, gyan, karma is going to point towards the center. Now, can you feel all that hard work that somebody can do? Can you feel all that knowledge that somebody has? And then he's going to point towards the center.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Yogeshwar. Okay, so now we're beginning this sequence. And the way, let's do it this way. I will read out something in English, and then Yogeshwar explains it, and I will try to give a little bit more context, and we will go to the next one, verse by verse. Okay. So the first one we are doing is number 21. Among the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Among lights and splendors, I am the radiant sun. I am Marichi among the Maruts. Among the stars, the moon am I. Go ahead.
So among all the Adityas, I am Vishnu. One.
Can you go ahead and read in Sanskrit first?
Oh yeah, sorry. Adityanamaham Vishnur Jyotisham Raviransuman Marichir Marutamasmi Nakshatranamaham Shashi. So among all the Adityas, now Aditya means all the sons of Diti. Aditi, sorry, all the sons of Aditi. Now, all the sons of Aditi are taken to be all the good celestial beings that all are metaphoric. Yeah? Among all those, in a way, there were 12 sons of Aditi, and it contains Surya, Vayu, like the sun, the air, yeah, all that, all those devatas that we see. Now, what devata means here in this context, which I had also explained in chapter 7, is something that you can see Brahma within. Yeah? If you can see Brahma within air, like when you're taking in air, just take in the air and leave out the air, like breathe in, breathe out. And if you can feel that subtle feeling of Brahma within, like, you know, we have, if I can talk about an experience that most of us must have had, is when we go to a seaside, yeah, and we look at the sun that is just about to set, or the sun that is just risen, or just about to rise, both aspects. And then you breathe in the breeze within you, all that, yeah. So there's an experience that you get within. Within that experience, the main thing is to get the experience. The main thing is not the sun setting, or the main thing is not the breeze, but the main thing is the experience within. What are you experiencing? So what Krishna here is saying, out of all those experiences that you've had with air, with the sun, with all those, yeah, I am Vishnu. Now, Vishnu here, literally, what it means, like when you say the explanation of the word, what the word translates to is all pervading, like being everywhere. That's Vishnu. So I am that which is everywhere. I am in the air that you breathe in. I am in the sun that you see when it sets, and I am in the sea. I am in that breeze. I am in the waves of the sea. So all that experience that you're having there, I am. Now, when you're having that experience, yeah, and then within that experience, you just feel like bowing down. You may not really bow down to anything particularly, but when you're bowing down, when you're saying namaste to this whole experience, it is to everything, not something particular here. It's to everything that has brought about this experience. And that is that, like, I'm bowing down to everything that can bring this experience to me. And now there is also another small story that I would like to talk about. Yeah, is, you know, when it's saying Vishnu here, another meaning, because it's Aditya's sons. Yeah, another meaning given here is Vamana, who was an avatar of Vishnu, and he was a son of Aditya. Yeah. So here, what they're trying to say is, I am Vamana. What Vamana did is, he was a small, like he was a dwarf, we could say. He was not of the normal height of people at that time. He was sort of a dwarf. So what happened is, he went to Bali, who was doing yajna. He was doing so many types of yajnas. And he was on his 99th yajna. If he could fulfill his 100th yajna, he could become the greatest of all beings on earth. Yeah. Now, what Vamana did, he came to Bali and he said, I am a Brahmana. Would you like to give me anything? And Bali said, I do not refuse any Brahman. Like, no Brahmana should go away from my doorstep without anything. So I welcome everyone. I also welcome you. So ask for anything and I'll give it to you. And then what Vamana said is, I only want 3 steps of earth. I only want 3 steps. Now, Bali's guru told him, that was, I'm forgetting the name, not Shankaracharya, sorry, I'm forgetting the name, but Bali's guru told Bali that this is like Vamana, he is an avatar of Vishnu, and he will tell you 3 steps, and then he will do something totally different. So do not take his word for what it is. Now, what Bali does is something so different, because his guru has told him that this is Vishnu. Now, Bali tells Vishnu now, and he tells his guru as well, that if Vishnu himself has come to my doorstep, I cannot take him back now. Like, I cannot tell him to go away. And if the greatest of all is asking for something from me, how can I refuse? So he has known that this is Vishnu. Now, even though it's just by words, but it is this subtle experience that he gets. If the ultimate Brahma can ask something from me, and I have something to offer to him, leave alone these yajnas, leave alone the greatness I will get from these yajnas, I will give Vishnu what he wants. I'll give this dwarf what he wants. It's fine. Like, that really shows how much he can leave his ego. Yeah, because he was doing all this to become the greatest of all worlds. But now what he's doing here is to go at the feet of the ultimate and say, yes, I can give everything I have to you. And then what Vamana does after Bali accepts is, he becomes this Virat. He becomes this one being that can go from, like, his feet his feet are on earth and his head is in the sky, like that big Virat form. And then with one step, the earth and the heavenly bodies, everything is taken. With the second step, even the worlds below the earth are taken. Now, this is mythological, not literal. But what it means is, every great being or every great thing that you can talk about on earth and above earth is taken out. And then every subtle sorrow that you can say is below, what below earth means is, you're living below the standard of earth. So that means that it is all the sorrows that befall you, everything. So he takes out of the equation all that. And then he asks Bali, where should I put my third foot? Like, I've taken everything from you now. You can't say anything is yours. So where do you say I put my third foot? And then Bali gives his head, that put your third foot here. Yeah? And that is totally like putting the metaphor into context. What Bali does here is to surrender to the ultimate when he gets to the ultimate. Now that's something that if we are so much egocentric, we can't do. First of all, we can't even accept when we want to become something great, or we want to get so much money in our life, or we want to get so much fame. And our teacher tells us that if you do this, all your fame, all your money will go. Then we cling to the money rather than giving it away. Now, what Bali is doing there is giving everything away, including himself in the third step. And when you give yourself away, then you can know Brahma. Then you can know the ultimate. Jyotisham Raviransuman. So within all that give out light, within all the radiant things, I am Ravir Anshuman. I am the most radiant. I am that which gives out the most light. And according to what Arjuna knows, you see, we have to also bring the context of what Arjuna knows, rather than what Krishna would know, was he's explaining to Arjuna. According to what Arjuna knows, is the brightest thing he knows is the sun. Well, we know that there's so many brighter stars in the galaxy, but according to what Arjuna knows, when you're explaining to a child, you will tell him this is the brightest because that's what he sees, that's what he experiences. So out of all the light, all that give out light, I am the sun. So I am the greatest, I am the most radiant. And not only that, you see what the sun does is also give us life. It gives us life. Like, for example, what we say is, if the earth was just a bit nearer to the sun or just a bit away from the sun, life will not be able to exist here. So the placement of earth just this much away from the sun gives us life. So that life that the sun gives us, and all, you see, even right now, what we're getting to know is what the sun gives us is more than light. It also gives us vitamin D and so much other essential things the sun gives us, just apart from light. Yeah. So it's not just about the light even, but it's about the sun. So the sun gives out so much to us. It gives out life to us. So that's important here. Marichir Marutamasmi. So out of all the types of air you know, I am Marichi. Like, for example, we know wind. Now, air and wind are basically the same thing, but wind is moving air. Yes? And then even in that moving air, we have cyclones and tornadoes and all that. So that is an extreme of moving air, or the hurricanes, that we could say. So that's an extreme of moving air. Now, I am that subtle air that you talk about, just being, leave alone it moving, just the air that you talk about. I am it. Now, in that air, what we have to say is, when we take air in and out, the prana, vayu, is me. That's what Krishna is saying here. Is that not only the air you see outside, even the air within your lungs, within all your cells, is me. All that. Now, even more certainly, out of that air, oxygen gives us life. If there was no oxygen, there would be no life on this earth. So even out of that air, if you can see the oxygen, like it has life within, even though you don't see the life within the particle of oxygen, but it has something it gives to us that we can actually have life within ourselves. So that is the important aspect. If you can see within all types of air, even carbon dioxide, nitrogen, oxygen, within all that, I am that which gives life. I am that subtle. You cannot see the life within oxygen. Like if we see it literally with our eyes, we will not be able to differentiate oxygen from carbon dioxide. But that subtle difference between oxygen giving us its life, it's like there's some life within oxygen that it's providing to us. And that life is me within all the air. Nakshatranam aham shashi. Now, out of all that you see at night, out of all the stars that you see at night, those are called nakshatras. So when we say that out of those that you see at night, you leave out the sun. And now you point towards the moon. Now the moon is most radiant at night. What happens there is the moon is, you know what happens at night is trees have their own life at night. Yeah, they take in they take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide at night, like the opposite of what they do during the day. Now there's also an essence of the moon in that, whereby it gives that subtle coolness towards the plants, and it gives the plants its subtle life at night, like the sun would be able to give its own life to the plants, whereby we say that what plants need to make their own food, yeah, one part is the carbon dioxide, and one part is the sunlight. It needs the sunlight to make its own food. So there is that aspect of the plants being able to make their own food from sunlight. Now there's also another aspect of the moonlight giving its radiance to the plants. Now that radiance, what it does to the plants is it gives its own life towards the plants. So when it's giving its own life towards the plants, there's that subtle, because even in chapter 15, Somo Bhutva Rasatmaka, what in chapter 15, this is stated that I am the moon and I give my essence towards the plants. I give my life towards the plants while I am the moon. So if you can see the life within the moon, then you can know me. So in the example I gave, we could say that a person was pointing towards the moon, but now Krishna here is saying, moon is the pointer. Look for something within, something more subtle within. Look for the life within the moon, and then you'll be able to know me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Yogeshwar. So folks, this is a very interesting, this entire sequence, starting from 21, going all the way till I think 40, till the end, 42. This is actually showing, what ultimate means in kind of by showing kind of its different aspects. So it's trying to point to it in many, 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 many different ways. Okay, so that's what it is going to be. So what I would like to do is, I think let's continue this tomorrow. But at this point, so we'll start with 22, but happy to take any questions or comments about anything. Happy to do that. And then we will go ahead and continue from 22nd onwards till 42 tomorrow. It's going to be just a sequence. So partly you're going to, he's going to actually show you kind of, you say that like, Tao is there in 10,000 things. Tao is there in everything. And what this entire piece is doing is to actually talk through, what is it like here? What is it like here? What is it like here? And various kinds of things is going to kind of give you a picture of that. So that's what it's going to be. Jyoti, go ahead. You guys can make any comments at any level about anything at this point. Jyoti, go ahead. Jyoti, can you unmute?
Yeah, it said the host has to unmute you.
Yes, it's done.
Okay. So my question about your diagram is, in order to stay in center, do all the three components yogas have to take place simultaneously? Like a bhakti yoga?
Okay, that's a great question. Let me do one thing. Let me have Yogeshwar answer that. He's probably going to be better at answering that question. Yogeshwar, what would you say?
Yes, so all the three will play an aspect in it. But what will happen is, because your swabhava, or what you are basically, is tilted towards one side, like there's a slight tilt, like somebody will go slightly towards knowledge more, and another person will go slightly towards bhakti more, another one will go slightly towards karma more. It's not that you're leaving the others, it's like you're slightly tilted circle. Yeah, and that slight tilt is what is important for you to realize Brahma, because what happens here, there's no right or wrong in this process. What is how can you reach the ultimate? And that you reaching the ultimate, it's with all the three faculties, but you tilting towards one slightly, like have both aspects within you, that you can do all the three and you can tilt slightly towards one as well.
So Jyoti, go ahead, Jyoti.
You know, I was going to say thank you because, yeah, that the equilibrium will kind of tilt if you are, let's say, if you're doing only karma yoga, not only, but most of it karma yoga and a little bit of bhakti yoga and jnana yoga. But, and so you're saying it doesn't matter, right?
It's like this. So what happens is, let me put it this way. So you have this diagram, right? You have the center, you have these different axes. Another way of thinking about it is that, we're not perfectly round. Like what will happen is that some people's progress nature is that they are closer along this axis. They're doing a lot of bhakti yoga. They're really good at bhakti yoga. So they're closer through the center through bhakti. And that is going to be leading them forward. They're going to be more dominantly focused on love. And then the other things would also come in, but they would be like following. There are people who are going to be more focused on, let's say, karma yoga. They'll be like this. So they are going to be closer to the center. Karma, they're going to be leading. Karma is going to be leading for them. There could be people who are more focused on the jnana yoga. So they would be like this, something like that. So they are going to be closer, that'll be kind of a leading part. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Next up is Evanik, followed by Joe. Evanik.
Yeah, so that second part is going to be really fun tomorrow and really deep. But I think when it says bowing down to, when Yogeshwar was talking about bowing down to anything that brings me closer to Brahma, it brought me to the passage in the Bible where it talks about, where Jesus says, pick up your cross and are you ready to pick up your cross and carry it, or something like that. I forget the exact wording, but basically it's saying that, are you willing to sacrifice in order to get closer to me? Are you willing because it's not going to be pleasant, and it may not be pleasant because it's something what you want. It's tied to your ego, it's tied to that peripheral. But like I guess what we're saying, like, if you told somebody you had to give up all the money and fame in order to get closer to Brahma, how many people could do it? And it's a similar thing in the Bible. It's like, how much are you willing to give up to ultimately become closer to God? And recognizing that that is the true treasure. It's just so many similar instances in the Bible that talks about that. Like, um, the rich man giving up everything he had just to go find this treasure in the desert, right? In this like deserted place. So I just thought that was similar to that. And then I love the part where you were you guys were talking about um where you lean in, like you may lean towards something one you might lean towards yana yoga or karma, but it's okay because that's just the way you lean. It's not like one is more important than the other. Everything has a role. And I was thinking again of the talents, right? Everybody has their gifts. Everybody has spiritual gifts. It says in the Bible, like everybody has spiritual gifts. Like some people is to teach, some people is to evangelize, different things. It's going towards your strengths and learning from other people. And I think that's key too. And that's a sacrifice. Because again, you got to sacrifice your ego. And I know Jordan Peterson talks about sacrifice a lot. So that's what it reminded me of.
Great points. I'll respond to a couple of things, and then if Yogeshwar, if you want to respond. So firstly, absolutely the Vaman example of saying that Vishnu is coming to ask me for something, like Brahma, like God asked me for something, I'm going to say yes, whatever the cost be. So that's one part of it. The other point that Yogeshwar was making that I wanted to highlight also is that when he's saying kind of I'm bowing down to everything, what it is saying really is that he's saying that you're seeing Brahma in everything. So you are seeing that, like, it is relatively easier to see such things in people as compared to, let's say, cats, as compared to say plants, or as compared to stone. So what he's saying is that when you get to a stage where you can see the Tao, the Brahma operating in everything, and you can connect to that, you can see it in that, that is a state where you're coming closer to, by bowing to Brahma in everything, you're coming closer to it everywhere. I also like the point that you made about the strengths and weaknesses, of using this one. So the interesting thing is that all of them actually support each other, and it's just a leading, it's like you're leaning or leading with something. But when you lead with something, the other things follow with it. Like if you are doing bhakti, your knowledge will keep increasing. When you're doing bhakti, you will be doing good things. Similarly, if you're doing good things, if you're doing good work, your devotion is going to increase, your knowledge is going to increase, and vice versa. But it's just a question of what you're leading with. So that's what I would say. Yogeshwar, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, so there was also this part of the story, like where what happened is Bali, he gave his own head, that put your foot on my head, that's fine. But then after that, what happened is Vishnu, like Vaman, now came back to his small dwarf form. And then he said that, ask for anything now. And what Bali asked for is, stay with me 24/7, all the days of the year. Yeah. So don't go away from me anytime.
Wow.
And that is like really subtle, because in a way, when you sacrifice so much for Brahma, then Brahma will reveal itself to you. Like you'll not be able to stay away from Brahma. Now, what this metaphor is actually saying here is, you can it's not only about sacrificing, but it's also accepting that I want to know you and stay with me every time. Yeah, and that which now Vishnu says that now ask for anything from me. And Bali is not saying that give me back my fame or my money, but I want to know you. I want to know Brahma now. Stay with me all the days of the year. That is really inspiring here.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Yogeshwar. I really like, you telling these stories because it adds the context. It reminds me of like the story of Karna, where Indra comes to get, and ask for his, the Karna is this character in Mahabharata who has this armor built into him that is part of him, that makes him invincible. And this, the father of Arjun, who is his enemy, and Indra is a god, comes and asks Karna for, for dhan. It's the same concept of saying somebody has come to your door and is asking for something. And he knows that it is Indra, and he knows that he's going to ask him for, this armor. But he says, it's Indra, he's asking for it, so I will give it, even if it means that I'm risking my life. So it's a amazing story. Next up is going to be Joe, followed by Jyoti. Joe.
So really quickly, I'll just make a kind of a broad comment about the.
Please.
Hang on, I don't know why my phone's ringing. But a broad comment about the overall, that you can kind of see that in this passage, in understanding the ultimate, that where you can kind of see the God in everyone and in everything clearly. Like now you're actually getting into the details as to what that really means. And as I start to see that, that's, it's resonated with me on a, I don't want to say it's a superficial level, but a one level. And I think that this will actually help me in understanding it a little bit at a more deeper level. But I also, coming back to the three circles, and I see them almost like, virtues that are interrelated, like that they're all kind of related to one another. But I have one quick question. Would Raja Yoga be the practice of that? So that would be kind of the middle?
Okay, that's a very good question. I'm going to ask that to Yogeshwar. Yogeshwar, what is Raja Yoga? And where would you, how would you relate it to Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga?
Can I ask really quickly? Okay.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So like the three that you have in the middle, you could have like a Venn diagram, like before, I don't know, the one you're showing you to Jyoti.
Just a second. Yeah.
And somehow it would fit in the middle of these.
No. Let's see what it is, Joe. Don't imagine.
I'm trying. No, it has to. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm sorry, guys.
All right. Go ahead, Yogeshwar. How does Raja Yoga relate to Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Jnana Yoga?
So Raj Yoga, basically, just want to clear this out. You're meaning Dhyana Yoga, yes?
Yes.
Yes. So now how Dhyana Yoga comes within all this, it is like, you can divide this into however many sections you want. So it's like divide this circle into 4 now.
Mm-hmm.
And Raja Yoga will be the 4th spot. And you see, the thing is in a way, it is part of karma because you're doing it with your body. Yes? But then it also brings this aspect of concentration within. So it is totally different from karma in that way. So it could be the fourth spot, but what happens is it's not the ultimate yet. It is a way to get to the ultimate, like karma yoga is, or like jnana yoga is. It is a way to get to the ultimate. And in a way, how you could talk about it is, you know, it helps. It, like if it's in this circle and it's the fourth spot, it also helps all the three aspects as well. Whereby if you have control over your breath, then you can think faster, you have concentration, and you can do one job at a time fully well. And then concentration also helps with your bhakti, with your devotion, because if you can direct your devotion towards one, that is an aspect of concentration as well. Yes, so that concentration aspect is the fourth spoke in this wheel, in a way, if you divide into four now.
Excellent point. So Joe, to answer your question, as Yogeshwar said, Raja Yoga is, Dhyana Yoga is really a good way of thinking of Raja Yoga. Like if you look at Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, and look at how he looks at it, it is all about concentration. It is firstly kind of getting your body ready to be ready so you can concentrate, and then it's all about concentration. So concentration is a very, very deep idea, and it's kind of like you can put it as a fourth one, but it has elements of karma yoga, it has elements of bhakti yoga also. It's like devotion of saying, I am going to remain focused on this. Like when Krishna keeps saying, Yogeshwar, when Krishna keeps saying, focus on me, okay, I think it's like, keep your dhyan on me. What do you see as a relationship between bhakti yoga and dhyana yoga?
Yeah, so now what happens, what differentiates bhakti from dhyana yoga, yeah, in a way is, you see, bhakti has within all that emotion, like you direct it with emotion, not just directing it.
Yes.
What dhyana yoga or Patanjali's Yoga Sutras do is just direct. And then bhakti will come in, but it's not the focus here. Yeah, you're like, the emotions will come in, but it's not the focus here. What dhyana yoga really does is first set your body right, set your breath right, set your eyes and your everything right, and then your concentration, your thoughts will be focused in a way. Now, when your concentration is focused in a way, then all the other aspects, like for example, dhyana will come. Like when we do bhakti, when the whole circle is tilted towards bhakti, we take emotions like devotion as the most important, but the others are also within the fulcrum. So that's what happens here. And in another way, what we could do is all these 18 adhyayas, each one of them, because each one of them is a yoga. So each one of them can become a spoke in this circle. That's how it is. You can reach through any of the adhyayas. That's what Gita is. And that's what happens is, now we can't put 18 into this. It's really hard to explain. So what we do is we make broader categories. And we can categorize more, but still it's easier with the broader categories.
Wonderfully put. So I mean, this is the entire approach of the Indian way of thinking, of saying that there are multiple paths. So the most important thing is that, so let me use another color here. Most important thing is that there is a center and there are all these paths to it. So there are so many ways of getting there. There are kind of different combinations, and like for example, what are we talking about here? like in the Vibhuti Yoga, he's actually showing you kind of parts of nature and showing you where the center is in that. So these are, it's a more, you know, so it's, how to put it? So what I'm saying is that this diagram that I have is like a simplified version. There is tremendous value to simplification. But at the same time, you can have this simple base, and then you can bring in where what he's talking about, what Gita is talking about fits in. They're like different combinations of these things. Go ahead, Joe. I don't know whether your question is answered or not.
No, you absolutely answered my question. I mean, I was a little bit wrong on how I was thinking about my answer. So I appreciate the clarification. I also appreciate the consolidation, because of, there's so many different ways to get there. But that would be cool to see at some point. I mean, I'm not asking you to do it, clearly.
What is that? You mean 18 spokes?
Yeah. I'm not asking you to do that.
The thing is that you won't be able to use it.
I know. Yeah.
The way you use it is that you actually read the Gita. So if you want 18 spokes, Joe, just read Gita.
Okay. Thank you. That's fair enough.
Yeah, and then what happens is that it's like, see, I mean, when you're trying to understand things, right, you're going continuously between simplification and getting the full context. So for example, in this Vibhuti Yoga is a very good example. All the examples that we are going through is going to show you how this Brahma or principle, universal principle, operates in various things. How does it operate in living things? How does it operate in terms of, light? How does it operate in terms of wind? How does it, and how do you think of it? Right. And what that does, that all that richness you are getting, and then this is like a simplified way of looking at it that allows you to hold it and use it effectively. Thanks, Joe. Next up is Jyoti, followed by Elena. Jyoti.
Yeah, this is a question on a separate note for Yogeshwar. I have a picture of Lord Krishna, and he has Sudarshan Chakra in his hand. So what does that signify, the Sudarshan Chakra?
Go ahead, Yogeshwar.
Yes, so Sudarshan Chakra. First chakra is a very prominent thing in Indian thought. If you see the Indian flag, it also has a chakra in the middle. Yes. So what happens is, in Indian thought, chakra is really important, whereby you see, we also say Sansar Chakra. So it is this whole round, like this whole circle that we're moving in. In another way, you could exemplify this is what the chakra means is it symbolizes the circular movement of thought in India. And another aspect of it is that the chakra could be said as a weapon. Yeah. And when it is as a weapon, then it is to take away all the bad aspects or the bad deeds that are within you. That's how somebody in Bhakti tradition would view it. But in a way of dhyana, what it shows to you is that how the knowledge in India is brought about just from a symbol, and how much a symbol can show you about the knowledge.
Thank you. Next up, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so it's not a weapon?
It is a weapon.
It is.
Yeah, so there are two parts, Jyoti. I mean, one part that Yogeshwar is saying is that the cycles, because the circle actually represents cycles. So it's like the entire Indian thought is cyclical. So it's like it's spiral movement. It is movement of all kinds. And so that's one part of it. That was the general point that Yogeshwar is making. But then Sudarshan Chakra is a weapon that Krishna uses. It's an amazing weapon. It goes, searches for people, waits for them, then goes and does what it needs to do and comes back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is going to be Elena, followed by Ambika. Elena.
Hello, everyone. It's I just really love this evenings because of somehow there's so much wisdom in Gita, and it's just concentrated. Somehow there's it's very rich. And so what I've discovered is that, okay, there is ego-less part of us, that the true self is just I am. Everything else that goes to I am smart, I am educated, I am beautiful, I am not beautiful, they don't love me, will love me. That's already ego. So just I am is the truth. So my question to both of you, do we need to experience all three dimensions of yoga ideally, say karma and mindfulness, so through knowledge, getting to the center, and through opening a heart and devotion, ideally? Or we could just use one methodology, one method, technique. What do you think?
Go ahead, Yogeshwar.
Yeah, so we are not 100% one-sided. Like our lives, let's say, like if we say in our lives, yes, we may be knowledgeable, whereby we use our intellect for different aspects of our lives. But there are also these aspects of our lives, like, for example, falling in love or like making friends. It is not really intellectual. That part of our life is prominent with love. And then there's also that part of life of us that is like, we can't say it's totally unrelated with emotions or intellect, but it is doing work within your community or within the environment, or doing any sort of work that you are doing. So all these aspects of life are within you, like they're not separate from you. So you will choose one prominently, like a scientist will choose knowledge prominently. It doesn't mean that he doesn't fall in love. He does fall in love. And it doesn't mean that he doesn't do work within his community. He does work. But that work and that emotion will be mostly driven by his intellect, rather than the other two driving his intellect. So he is tilted towards Gnan in a way, in his own way. You can see that. Or a musician is tilted towards emotion more rather than the other two aspects. We can see that. But it's not that he doesn't have intellect. He does have. Or it's not that he is not doing work in the community. He also does work in the community. So it's the same thing with spiritual enlightenment. Use all the aspects that you have. Don't leave out any aspect, because you'll have one prominent, that's like a talent that you have. But don't forget other aspects that help with the talent as well, that are part of you. So it's like saying, I will use everything I have, all the tools I have, to get towards the center. I will use one prominently because I have it prominent, but I will also use the others because they are part of me.
Wonderful. Excellently put. So I would also, I completely agree. I mean, I think at some point you had given a very interesting proportion, like 50, 30, 20, something like that. Basically, the thing is that there is what happens is that we are strong in different things, and we are weak in some things. There's some things that habitually we have developed strengths in, abilities in, and some things we have not developed abilities in. So, and people differ in that. At the same time, we are integrated beings. We have emotions, we have thoughts, and we do actions, and we do all these three, and all these three are parts of us, and we can't disown any of them. If we try to do one of them to the exclusion of others, we can't function. So all these three, the other part of it is that we're talking about Brahma, right? Brahma is the center. You're trying to embrace everything. The only way to embrace Brahma is to embrace everything. So it also means you embrace all that you are. You're saying namaste to other people. You have to realize that you may be focused on intellect, but the other person may be focused on bhakti, and you still do namaste to them. That means you respect that in them. So this entire way of thinking is an integral way of thinking. It is a way of integrated. It's saying your being, which is integrated. Brahma is all integration. Respect that. Yes, you will have more ability in one things than others, and use it. At the same time, respect your other ability, use it as much as you can, and by its nature, those three things are connected. So they will kind of come along, automatically, partly as well. So the core idea is that of integration, and then also respecting the strengths and weaknesses in the context of integration. Next up is going to be Ambika.
Hi, so I'm not sure exactly what I want to say other than that reading aloud the Gita or anything, Lalita Sahasranama, anything, those sounds, those words, those syllables themselves create a rhythm when you get into it that to me feels so transformational. And I was wondering, there are many people who want to know it in Sanskrit, but can't. Would reciting it aloud in English also help? And when we were kids, the Ras Leela would be very popular, and the Ram Leela and these shows we would go to. And it just occurred to me that those expressions at that time really left an impression on us. And we had not read it, we were kids, but the whole Ras Leela was so beautiful. And I would love to see one sometime again. But again, would that also shift how one receives the message of the Gita, even if you read it in English, for those who can't, But even if you don't know the Sanskrit, I was just having a conversation, just hearing the Sanskrit does that too. Somehow, somewhere in the DNA of the whole being, because it gets you on a cellular particle level. So I wondered if you had, because Yogeshwar said this beautiful image where the plant and the sound and the light gets in, that's all encoded in the sound as well. It felt like to me when I was listening to you.
Wonderful. Yogeshwar, what do you think?
And then when you just recite Om for an hour, you feel that too. Just the Om also is a whole mantra. And then could you come to that feeling of it within from these two? Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Yogeshwar.
Yeah, so what Indian thought has done from before is it has focused on one aspect, that is sound, like so much. So Om is the integral part. It's where everything comes out from. Yeah? So there's the Om that we do not know, and then the Om that is made out of the three letters, A, U, M. So after that, all the alphabet of Sanskrit comes. That's how they say it. Now, in a way, how we could view this as well is those Sanskrit alphabets that were brought about, Yeah. What happens is they were researched on at that time. What type of alphabet triggers something within you? And all this was done, like what type of mantras reside within you, like what may create a spark within you, even though you do not know what it means. Like, for example, here, like where I am staying right now is, there are other people who only recite Upanishads or recite mantras. Yeah. Now, what happens there, even though I just listen, like, because Upanishads could be really hard to understand in a way, or the Vedas, they may be hard to understand. But just listening to the Sanskrit, you realize that how much effort the sages have made within building this whole language based on just vibrations and how they affect your body. And if you do it practically, as you have said, Ambika, it is really transforming rather than just talking about it. Like if you listen only, it also transforms you. And then there's also another transformation level whereby you listen to it, you're transformed by the sounds, and then you understand it. So if you recite the English, you will understand it. And that is important as well. But you see how Sanskrit puts it, it also brings in the sounds and the vibrations of the sounds that are supposed to be. That what it does is it just brings the understanding and the sound together. And then you have all this that transforms you together, not just the understanding, but just even reciting it or listening to it transforms you as well. So bringing everything together, I would say, would bring more transformation to you. But as we know that we cannot all know Sanskrit, also just understanding as well will transform you.
So I want to talk more about the sound. I think the sound is fundamental to Indian thought. And it's very, very deep. It's very deep point, because what it does is that it, I mean, in a very fundamental way, when you compare, let's say, see, we've been studying Gospel of John, Tao Te Ching, and Bhagavad Gita. And all these three cultures, the mode of operation is different. Like Tao Te Ching is heavily visual, like visual field really shapes everything. It's like be like water. It's very, very deep, deeply visual. The Western mind is very sequential. It is very much based on writing and alphabet. The Indian mind is based on sound. Okay, so I'm going to try to demonstrate a couple of things. This is very, very tough. So let me try. So one of my favorites, so this is, again, I cannot sing, but I'm going to try. This is the oldest, if you want to really pursue the sound angle, the place to look at it is in Indian classical music, because that is where they really brought out the sound and try to express it. The oldest version of Indian classical music is called Dhrupad, which was the original version before the Islamic influence. And most of Indian classical music is heavily influenced. It's called Khyal, which is heavily influenced by the Islamic music. Dhrupad is the music which came before that. And it was sung only in temples. So the singer would sing with their back to the audience, because it would be facing the idol. That's what they would be doing. Okay, so here is a piece from Dhrupad. It's a very difficult piece. It's very odd piece because it's a very different kind of a sound. Okay, but I'm going to try. Let me first tell you the words because you can see how deep it is. It says, Anahata Nada Upajo Jagame. Anahata Nada means unmanifested sound. Came into being in the world. It is the beginning of the word. So it's like, instead of saying in the beginning was the word, in the beginning was the sound. And it is Anahata Nada. Anahata means unmanifested sound. So you can see it is pointing exactly to the Brahma. Okay. And then it says, Tako Karu Dhyana Maname Ghatame. That means so that I can do dhyana. So that means I can focus. Maname means in my mind and in my body. So that's how it is. Now it's very difficult. So I'm going to try it anyway. It's a rag called Puriya Kalyan. Upajo Jagame Anahatanada Upajo Jagame Tako Karu Dhyana Meghatame Anahatanada Anahatanada Upajo Jagame Tako Karu Dhyana Maname Ghadame Anahatanada. So that's how it goes. It is it's very contemplative. It is very, typically these pieces are sung for 2 hours, where they are very slowly exploring like each tone, each expression. So that's how the sound is. All right. If anybody has any for the Ambika, you had a comment. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add, following also your singing, that sound and light are the healing systems of the current and future. It's already happening. This is how we're going to heal. And in fact, there are practices where you chant mantras on every chakra system, every chakra, to change and to transform things. So it's already happening. And even it was done for so many thousands of years, right, Yogeshwar?
Yeah. So Yogeshwar, what do you think has been the role of chanting? How is chanting used?
Yeah. So if we could wait for for tomorrow, because Krishna is going to say Yagyanam Japa Yagyas. So
Okay.
out of all the yagyas, I am Japa Yagya, which also
okay.
contains the chanting and everything. So I
Wonderful.
would like to put it there.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. All right, folks. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.